Disclaimer: this content is only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. I still remember the way he looked at me that evening, like nothing in the world had changed. His eyes were calm, his voice steady, and when I asked him where he had been, he simply smiled and said, "It was just a massage, babe." But something about his tone felt off. The kind of off that makes your heart beat faster, not because you're in love, but because deep down, your instincts are whispering that something isn't right. That was the night everything started to shift between us. My name is Alina, a Russian woman who fell for a charming, witty American man named James. We met in the most unexpected way, on a delayed flight from Miami to New York. He spilled coffee on my jeans, I yelled at him in Russian, and somehow, he ended up buying me a drink to make up for it. Fast forward 5 years, and we're married, living a peaceful life in a cozy suburb. Or at least, that's what I thought until last Thursday. James had always been affectionate, thoughtful, the kind of husband who remembered little things like what tea I liked when I was sick. So when he said he needed a break from work stress and booked a massage, I didn't question it. I even encouraged him. But when he came home that night, something was different. He avoided eye contact. He kissed me on the cheek instead of the lips. And that perfume, it wasn't mine. I tried not to jump to conclusions. After all, I've always believed trust is the foundation of any relationship. But that night, I lay awake wondering, was it really just a massage? Or was there something he wasn't telling me? The next morning, I checked his shirt. No receipts. No business cards. Just one red lipstick stain at the collar's edge, faint but very much there. The kind that doesn't come from a spa. Still, I said nothing. I wanted to believe him. Maybe I was overthinking. Maybe it was innocent. But that doubt grew like a splinter in my mind, tiny at first, then impossible to ignore. What was he hiding? And if he had done something, why would he lie to me, the woman who gave up her country, her career, and her old life just to be with him? That weekend, I decided to follow him. Not because I didn't love him, but because I did, and love doesn't survive in the dark. What I saw would change everything between us. And no, it wasn't what I expected. In fact, what he did next was something I never saw coming. Before I continue, I want to hear from you. Do you think a massage should ever be kept secret in a relationship? Have you ever caught someone you love acting strangely? Share your thoughts in the comments below, or vote in the poll on the screen now. What do you think James is hiding? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you won't miss part 2 of this story. Trust me, you'll want to see what happens next. The next morning, everything felt normal on the surface. James made us both coffee, just like he always did, his cup black, mine with almond milk and a pinch of cinnamon. He smiled, kissed me lightly on the forehead, and asked if I wanted to go for a walk later. But I couldn't stop thinking about that shirt. That lipstick stain. The kind of detail that doesn't happen by accident. As he got ready for work, I watched him from the hallway. His movements were calm, confident. Too confident, like someone who had nothing to hide, or maybe someone who had learned how to hide it well. I kept asking myself the same question over and over, was I being paranoid? Or was my husband, the man who once cried during our wedding vows, really keeping something from me? I met James when I had just moved to the States. Everything was new, language, culture, even the way people hugged. He made me feel like I belonged. Like I wasn't alone. And now, after all these years, I wondered if I really knew him at all. Was our relationship still built on love, or had something changed while I wasn't looking? Later that day, I found myself scrolling through his photos on our shared iPad. Just normal stuff. Us at the beach. Him grilling in the backyard. A few selfies from his recent work trip. But in one picture, his reflection in a hotel mirror gave him away. Behind him, barely visible, was a pair of heels on the floor. Red. Definitely not mine. I stared at that photo for a long time, feeling like I was falling through the floor. When he came home that night, I tried to act normal. I smiled. I even laughed at his terrible jokes. But inside, my thoughts were racing. Who was she? Was it someone from work? A friend? Or someone he met at the massage place? I needed answers, but I didn't know how to ask without sounding like I was accusing him. We sat on the couch, watching a movie. His hand rested on mine, warm and familiar. And yet, 1,000 miles away. I wanted to believe that touch still meant something. But the silence between us was louder than any words. So I made a decision. The next day, I would go to the place where he said he got the massage. I needed to see for myself. I needed to know the truth, even if it hurt. The next morning, I stood in front of the wellness spa James had mentioned. It looked peaceful from the outside, green plants by the door, calming music drifting out every time the glass door opened. You'd never guess a secret might be hiding behind its walls. I took a deep breath and walked in, trying to appear casual. The receptionist smiled politely and asked if I had an appointment. I smiled back and said I was just browsing for now, pretending to look at the list of services on the wall. As I stood there, reading the menu, deep tissue, aromatherapy, Swedish, I wondered which one he claimed to get. I scanned the room, searching for clues. Then, I saw a framed photo near the front desk. A group picture of their massage therapists. One woman stood out immediately. Blonde hair, red lips, and the kind of heels I saw in that hotel reflection. My stomach dropped. I didn't know her name, but I felt like I already hated her. Instead of asking about her, I thanked the receptionist and walked out, acting like nothing was wrong. But my heart was pounding. I couldn't prove anything yet, but the puzzle pieces were slowly falling into place. I needed to be careful. I didn't want to accuse James without evidence. And a photo of heels wasn't enough. Not yet. That evening, I cooked dinner, his favorite, chicken Alfredo with garlic bread. We sat at the table, and I watched him. He laughed, he talked about his day like nothing was wrong. And I listened, nodding, smiling, pretending. But in my head, I was miles away, wondering what would happen if I confronted him. Would he deny it? Would he lie? Or worse, tell the truth? To make things even more complicated, his phone buzzed twice while we ate. He glanced at it and turned it face down. I asked, "Who's texting?" He smiled casually and said, "Just work." But I noticed he didn't answer. Later that night, when he went to shower, I picked up the phone. It was locked, of course. He'd never used a password before. That was new. That was telling. Now I wasn't just wondering what happened at the massage place. I was questioning our entire marriage. How long had this been going on? Was this a one-time mistake, or something deeper? Was it a moment of weakness, or had he built a whole second life behind my back? Even stranger, the next day I got a call from an unknown number. A woman's voice. Soft, calm. She asked, "Are you James' wife?" My heart froze. I said yes. But before I could ask anything, she simply said, "Then you deserve to know everything," and hung up. I stood there, phone still in my hand, my heart racing. What did she mean? What did she know that I didn't? I want to ask you, the viewer, what would you do in this situation? Do you think James is hiding more than just a massage? Who do you think the woman on the phone was? Drop your theories in the comments, and let's see who figures it out first. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed beside James, staring at the ceiling, listening to the soft rhythm of his breath, wondering what truth was hiding beneath it. Every time he moved in his sleep, I flinched. Not out of fear, but from the weight of knowing something wasn't right between us anymore. That call from the woman earlier kept echoing in my mind, You deserve to know everything. But what did she mean by everything? The next morning, I acted like nothing happened. I kissed James goodbye, watched him drive off, then followed him. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel, but I was done guessing. I had to know where he went, what he did when I wasn't looking. I kept my distance, careful not to be noticed. He didn't go to work. Instead, he pulled into the parking lot of a small cafe I'd never seen before. I waited across the street, my heart pounding. 15 minutes later, she arrived. The blonde woman from the spa. The same red heels. The same confident walk. She smiled at him like they'd done this before, more than once. He stood, hugged her. Too close. Too familiar. And then they sat across from each other, heads tilted in, talking like no one else in the world existed. I wanted to burst in, to scream, to demand the truth. But I stayed in the car, frozen by a mix of betrayal and disbelief. Was this what he called just a massage? Was this what our love had become, quiet meetings behind my back while I cooked his favorite meals at home? Then, something unexpected happened. Another man walked in and approached their table. Older, dressed in a dark suit. They all stood up. James shook his hand, the blonde woman did too. And suddenly, the tone changed. Serious. Almost businesslike. I couldn't hear them, but their expressions weren't romantic anymore. They looked tense. Nervous, even. That's when I realized maybe this wasn't about cheating in the way I first thought. Maybe it was something else. Something bigger. Something that involved more than just broken trust and lipstick stains. And whatever it was about to come crashing into our lives. I want to hear what you think is really happening. Is James involved in something more than just a secret relationship? Could there be a second story we haven't uncovered yet? Let me know in the comments. Your guess might be closer to the truth than you think. I didn't move from the car. My fingers clutched the steering wheel so tight they hurt. Inside the cafe, James sat across from the blonde woman and the man in the dark suit. The atmosphere around them shifted. They were no longer smiling. The conversation looked serious, intense. I could see James gesturing with his hands, trying to explain something. The man nodded slowly, then reached into his coat and placed a small black envelope on the table. The woman stared at it like it was something she didn't want to touch. Suddenly, the woman stood up and walked outside. She didn't see me, her heels clicked sharply on the pavement as she lit a cigarette, pacing slowly near the curb. Her face was pale, lips tight. I knew that look. She was scared. Whatever they were discussing inside wasn't about romance anymore. It was deeper. Darker. And maybe James hadn't lied about the massage. Maybe he had only told me the part that sounded safe. That moment hit me hard. I was expecting heartbreak, maybe betrayal, but not this strange, hidden world he'd kept from me. The woman's phone rang. She answered quietly, then looked toward the cafe, eyes wide. Then, just like that, she crushed the cigarette under her heel, got into a cab, and disappeared. James came out a few minutes later. Alone. His eyes scanned the street, like he was making sure no one had followed him. My heart stopped when he turned and looked straight toward my car. I ducked quickly, breath held. Had he seen me? I waited, but he didn't come over. Instead, he got into his own car and drove away. But now I knew something for sure. Whatever James was mixed up in, it wasn't just about another woman. Back home, I searched the drawers in our study. I needed answers. I found an old key hidden inside a travel guide he hadn't touched in years. There was a label attached, Studio Locker. I had never heard him mention a studio. My mind raced. What kind of studio? Photography? Storage? Was that where he went when he said he had late meetings? The next morning, I found the address. It was an old building on the edge of town. I stood outside, holding the key, wondering if I should even open that door. I felt like I was about to step into a part of his life I wasn't meant to see. But I had come too far to walk away. And just as I reached for the door, my phone buzzed. A message. No name. Just a number. It read, "If you love him, don't open it. He's trying to protect you." My hand froze on the doorknob. What was inside that studio? What was James trying to protect me from? Was it still about love, or had our marriage turned into something more dangerous? Tell me, what would you do? Would you walk through that door? Or turn back? Comment below. Your answer might just change how the next chapter unfolds. I stood frozen outside that studio door, the cold metal key in my palm and that message burning in my mind. If you love him, don't open it. He's trying to protect you. But love isn't always quiet. Sometimes love demands the truth, even when it hurts. My hand moved on its own, slipping the key into the lock, heart pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. The door creaked open into a dim, narrow space. Not what I expected. No signs of another woman, no affair. Instead, photos. Hundreds of them. My photos. Pictures of me laughing, reading, cooking, even sleeping. Every moment, every expression, frozen in time and carefully placed on cork boards. In the center was a work table, and on it sat the black envelope from the cafe. I opened it slowly. Inside was a small flash drive and a handwritten note in James' familiar handwriting. If you're reading this, I'm sorry. I never wanted you to know this way. Tears blurred my eyes as I plugged the drive into the old laptop in the room. A video began to play. James was in it. He looked nervous, tired. "Alina," he said, "there's no other woman. There never was. I've been working with the FBI for 2 years. That woman, the man in the suit, they're part of a task force. That spa? A front. I was undercover, and I had to keep you out of it. It wasn't safe. I couldn't breathe. I had imagined lies, cheating, heartbreak, but not this. Not a hidden mission. Not danger." Then came the twist that turned my heart inside out. "But it's over now," James continued, his voice breaking. "We're leaving the country tonight. Witness protection. You'll get a call. If you love me, come." The video ended. And just then, my phone rang again. Same number. A soft voice whispered, "They know you opened the studio. You need to leave. Now." I ran. Out the door, into the street, heart racing. A black car turned the corner fast, headlights flashing. I didn't wait. I jumped in my own car, the keys shaking in the ignition. Now I ask you, if you found out the person you love had risked everything to protect you, would you go with them? Or would you stay behind to hold on to the life you thought you knew? Let me know in the comments. And don't miss the final chapter. You won't believe what happens next. I didn't even remember the drive home. My hands were cold, my mind racing with everything I had just seen and heard. The man I thought might be cheating on me had actually been living a double life, for me. For us. James had kept me in the dark not because he stopped loving me, but because he was trying to protect me from a world far more dangerous than I could have imagined. As I walked through our front door for what might have been the last time, I saw all the little pieces of our life together. Our wedding photo. The throw blanket we fought over every winter. His coffee mug with the chipped handle. I broke down, realizing that love isn't always simple. Sometimes love is messy. Sometimes it means silence. Sometimes it means sacrifice. That evening, just as the sun set, I got the final call. A location. A time. One chance to disappear with him. I packed lightly. Just the essentials. A photo of us from our honeymoon. My favorite book. And his old t-shirt that still smelled like home. As I closed the suitcase, I took one last look around. No note. No explanation for anyone. Just a choice, a future I hadn't planned, but one I couldn't walk away from. When I arrived at the airstrip, he was already there. Waiting. The way he looked at me, hopeful, uncertain, but full of love, it made everything worth it. We didn't speak right away. We didn't have to. The silence between us was no longer heavy with secrets. It was finally peaceful. We boarded the plane together. A new name. A new life. No more questions, just trust. That night, as we flew into darkness, I reached for his hand, and he held it tighter than he ever had before. Whatever was ahead, we were in it together. Sometimes, the love story you expect isn't the one you get. And maybe that's what makes it real. Now it's your turn. What would you have done in my place? Would you have walked away, or followed love into the unknown? Let me know in the comments. And if you want a sequel to what happens next in our new life, tell me below.